G'day everyone, Turbo Tristan here. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are back on the beloved VL, Australia's most iconic turbo car. And we are working on it today. I've done quite a bit of small stuff off camera that you're probably not going to notice, but I'll show it to you in just a moment. Stick around, we've got all of this stuff here to go in the car, and we are very close to the first fire up. Alrighty, so welcome back. It's been a minute since we've done anything on the VL Turbo build, and that's because RHONDA has taken priority. Plus, we were waiting on some parts for the exhaust, etc, etc. I finished that, I'll show you that in just a moment. We're also gonna do some mods and get the thing ready to be taken to have the wiring completely just done and dusted. And then it's on to the first start fire up with the Haltech 2500 ECU. I cannot wait to stick that in the car. We're also gonna do a dose pipe. We've got a 4-inch alloy bend here from RACEWORKS. We've got a BMC air filter, the best air filter in the world. And I still need to work out what I'm gonna do with this catch can here. This is absolutely awesome, but I need to find a nice mounting space for it. And I'm also gonna chuck in, for engine protection, this is very, very important. We're gonna chuck in an oil pressure sensor. These will be available on the Spool Up website. You can use the oil pressure sensor with the Haltech. You can set engine protection and alarms within the Haltech system. So if your oil pressure dips below a certain PSI, the car will shut down immediately and kill everything so that it doesn't actually kill the motor. So the great thing, and the reason why I always choose Haltech, is engine protection, because if we're running off these old sensors, this is the oil pressure switch that is factory on the RB30. And basically it's one pin. Once it gets to a certain pressure, it triggers a light on the dash and nothing else happens. So we don't want that. We're gonna chuck this out. This is going to the museum. We're gonna stick in the RACEWORKS. This is an OPS for oil pressure sensor -130, reads up to 150 PSI. And it will go straight in 1/8 NPT, straight into the block. And that lives just down here. The Haltech wiring loom has a plug already in place for it, which we're gonna use. And how good's this? They label everything oil P, so oil pressure. We're gonna use that. I've already started to chuck in the Haltech wiring loom. Now we've got a full standalone loom. This came in a really awesome bag, which I'm gonna use forever at the racetrack. It's gonna be awesome. And all of the quick start guide. You can buy this kit as well, does all RB engines, and it tells you everything you need to do. New fuses, relays, all brand new wiring. You don't want to be relying on 35-year-old wires to run your 1,000 horsepower powered RB. You want brand new wiring with no issues in any of the connections, or no shorts, or no snapped or brittle wires, or any of that stuff. You want brand new stuff, because engine management is the most important thing. Now, you guys know me, I cut corners and budget sometimes for different things. Like we're using a Pulsar turbo. It's got a spin with exhaust gas and pump air. It doesn't need to be a $3,000 turbo. This one will do just fine for what we're gonna do, and the next owner up to about 600 or 700 horsepower, maybe even a little bit higher considering it's a 3-litre engine. And that will be perfectly fine. And if it does break, just get a new one, cheap as chips. Same thing with the intercooler, same thing with, you know, all sorts of different bits and pieces on the car that are consumables, they're replaceable, and you do want to actually upgrade things like that regularly. Intercoolers get oil in them, they get carbon, all sorts of stuff. So you want to make sure you keep those things pretty fresh. Things like injectors, things like fuel pump, things like ECU, things like fuel pressure regulator, springs, retainers, rods, pistons, all that sort of stuff that's under heavy, heavy working conditions, very strenuous. All of your oil fittings, fuel lines, fuel hoses, all of that is brand new RACEWORKS gear, the best of the best, because those are crucial elements within the build. Spinning around and pumping air, not one of them. Flowing and cooling and expanding air, yeah, whatever. And that's why we choose Haltech, because you never ever want to skimp out on your ECU. And having said that, they're not overly expensive compared to other ECUs on the market. By the time you find a tuner that can tune your weird brand, an obscure brand of ECU, you got to find a specialist. You've got to find and locate and order the parts. You've got to get someone who knows how to wire it. Or if you go for these other ones that are the big brand names mentioned in Fast and Furious and whatnot, you've got to spend 3 and 4 times the price of a Haltech. Haltech does everything perfectly, trusted around the world, been around forever. Any tuner can tune it. Any tuner who is a real tuner or tuner, depending on where you're from, knows how to do Haltech. They're popular all over the world. So always run Haltech in my builds. Up to you what you guys use. We're gonna get that sorted. I'm gonna put in this new fitting, plug it straight into the Haltech loom, and then that's one thing checked off the list. What I also did off camera was I made a throttle cable bracket. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but I'm pretty proud of it. It gets everything out of the road. It's got nice tension. We're using the factory throttle, all of that sort of stuff, just to keep it simple, keep a nice, easy build. If I was keeping this and if I was gonna run this car forever and make 1 billion kilowatts, I would run a drive-by-wire throttle body over anything else. I can get those from RACEWORKS as well, but we're just gonna keep it simple and run this one, which is the factory OEM throttle body, get that happening. So I had to make a bracket. We're running a brand new cable, but the cable is for the factory style manifold, which goes across here and then comes around in this way. So it actually is quite a lot longer the way they run it from the factory because it's a side mount intake. We wouldn't be able to run that with this turbo because we'd have intercooler pipes and stuff in the road. So gotta do what you gotta do. Oil pressure sensors in, pizza brake is done. Now it's on to getting ready to set up the cold air intake. But first, let's check out the exhaust and all my handiwork. Pretty proud of it. It looks pretty damn awesome if I do say so myself. Not bad on the old MIG slagger. Check it out. We've got the wideband O2 plugged in from Haltech. We've also got RACEWORKS titanium heat wrap and a RACEWORKS titanium T3 flange or T3 housing sized turbo beanie. That's going to be our heat management for the hot side of the engine. We're going to leave the manifold open. It's going to go golden once we get the car running. And then we're going to jump onto the air intake very soon. This is going to be the view that pretty much all of you guys are going to see if you're trying to take a peep at the VL. You're only going to see it from the rear. This is what you're going to see. Pretty stealthy. Nice rear box, 3-inch all the way through, just a straight through barrel. From the side, nice and polished, and it tucks up under there quite nice. I'm pretty happy with that. Now to take it up and see what it looks like underneath. VL's up in the air now. Check it out. Normally I would get all of my exhaust materials, and I did get all of my exhaust materials from Exo Exhaust. They supplied all of the steel for this, the V-bands, the flex joint, the cat, the hot dog, and all of the pipe and all of the bends. They were sold out of the awesome resonator that we have on RHONDA, the race car. So I had to get this one from another local guy, Dandenong Exhaust. So this is an XPS muffler. Hopefully it sounds as good as the Exo Exhaust ones. And I copied a bit of a trick from Hack Shop Garage, which is another local YouTube channel. If you haven't seen them, check them out. And I painted everything black except for the mufflers. So this is all black. Over here we've got the V-bands, and then we have the hot dog, all black to the high flow cat, to the flex joint, and then the front is also painted black underneath here, and there's a heat wrap on there as well. So that is for 2 reasons. One of those reasons is to hide my welds, because I MIG'd this up, not TIG'd. I didn't want to spend hours and hours and hours doing it. It's 3 inches from the turbo back all the way through. As a MIG welder, I'm pretty good on the grinder, so I smoothed off majority of those welds without going too crazy. Again, it's not a show car. This is a tough street car, all the way up the front to the bit that I did TIG, which is the external wastegate screamer pipe. And I'm quite proud of that. Looks really nice and points down out of the road. And yeah, it's awesome. Can't wait to hear what that sounds like on gate. Of course, we've got the Turbo Smart 40mm wastegate. I do need to run some vacuum lines to that and to the boost controller, which I'm going to do tonight. But I need to get it down and get stuck into all of those things that I mentioned earlier in the video. Time to cover up this air intake. Now, this car is a street car, unlike my Civic, which I hardly ever drive. It's more for show and for YouTube. I will put a filter on it eventually before I go to the track, but for now, no filter. This car, it's going to be a cruiser. It's going to be cruising the beaches, cruising the cities, cruising around all the meets. So we do need to put an air filter on there. So what I've done is hit up RACEWORKS, grabbed some 4-inch tubing because that's how big the inlet is on the turbo. And I've got a 4-inch silicon joiner. And I've also got a BMC air filter. Now, these are the best air filters on the market. However, they're all red, so it's going to look a bit funny in the engine bay, but better than no filter. And we're going with a 45-degree bend, as scientifically proven to give the best dose by the guys at Keep It Reek. So we're going to run with that. All I need to do first is just take a measurement of where I need to cut, because I can't run the whole thing in there. It won't actually fit. So we're going to have to shorten that up quite a bit, somewhere like that, which we'll, can't really see, drop it about there. Get my RACEWORKS bead roller out, which is my favorite tool because you need that for all the hoses and everything that you do so it doesn't pop off. So get that done, cut it, chop it, stick it on. I'll show you in just a sec. So I've had a guess, measured roughly where I want to cut it, deburred it and bead rolled it with my RACEWORKS bead roller. Like I said, this is one of my favorite fabricating tools because you definitely need to put a bead on the end of every pipe so that hoses don't blow off. On an air intake, it's not that crucial because it's sucking in, not blowing out, but this doesn't have a blow off valve. And in my experience with my old GTR, at the end of a quarter-mile run at Eastern Creek, no blow-off valve, all the air comes out the front of the compressor, makes hectic dose sounds, but it shoots the pod filter off the end, so we don't want that happening. Bead roll everything, clamp everything, and let's get it on. BMC pod is installed. Let's go send this and stick it on. I still need to get 2 hose clamps for the turbo. Alrighty, so that just goes in there like so. So I think you'll agree, that looks pretty awesome. It's also going to be great for street duties in any weather conditions. So yeah, keep the dust out. Awesomeness. I like it without the filter, but then again, under bonnet temps, pretty hot, dust, dirt, all that sort of stuff. Not good for your motor, especially one that is forged. Rods, pistons, cams, everything. We want to look after this. It's not just a junkyard engine. Looking after it with the right filter, with the right air intake. Grab a couple of hose clamps. And Robert's your father's brother. We can send it to the next stage, which is wiring. Now I've plugged in just about everything and it's almost set up. There's a few extra lines here, which are all instructed in the Haltech instructions, but you know me, I'm a big sook when it comes to wiring. So I'm gonna send this out to Vel. Vel has his own auto electrician business. He's been around and he's done the brake lights on my Civic. He's also wired up and got running the EDEF Civic that I built, did the engine swap on, he did the wiring on, and it's running all schmick now. So big shout out to Vel. Next time you see this car, it should be kicking in the guts and running. Everything else is done. As far as I know, I haven't missed anything. So yeah, I'm really, really chuffed. Can't wait to hear this thing, drive it, enjoy it for a couple of weeks and sell it. It's going straight up on car sales or marketplace as well, and hopefully someone can enjoy this. We can free up the hoist space, get back onto the Beamer, and then a couple of other projects which we also have in the works coming your way soon. So the VL is going off to the auto electrician now, get everything finished up, and then it's ready to go. So don't forget, you've got to spool up, bring the boost. We'll see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed a bit more VL content. We are getting closer every day.